Hello, this is Carrie again, and I have another video for you today. Today I will be reviewing Island Escapes and Rainforest. So let's get started. So I wrote the publisher and I asked the publisher to send me these two books for review. The publisher very kindly did so. They also sent me this one for review, but this book is slightly different. The paper color is different as well as the number of pages. So I will be doing this book in a separate video. So there is that. So both of these books, all three of these books are done by Jade Gedeon. I think that's how you pronounce these. And they're done on some super thick watercolor paper, as you can see from the book. These books, I think this book is like 100 and something pages, but there's about 20 pieces, not 20, 60 pieces of art, 60 pages of art in this book. So let's get started. They feature this green page on the cover. This paper is, for the two books that I will be reviewing, is slightly off-white. And the paper does take watercolor, like light washes. I wouldn't do like heavy washes and heavy lifting on here. But if you want to do light washing, reading, I should get a dinger and ding these books every time they have reading. Anyway, so the paper is perforated. It's very nicely perforated, you can see. And they have two-page layouts. This is one of the two ways to do a two-page layout on a single-sided book. The other way is, of course, you would have, these two pages would have pictures, and then these two pages would be blank, and then these two pages would have pictures, and so on and so forth. And that way you could do a two-page spread on a single-sided book. That is the other way. I think my friend Amy would really like this book. This book has a lot of, small details like this. And this is the Island Escape. So let me show you this. So this is a really fun book with a lot of fun details. I was slightly concerned that it's a little bit too much detail, but I was able to get some really nice watercolor washes in here anyway. So so even though the detail might be a bit much for some, it's totally doable. There's a lot of patterns like this, so if you like the patterns, then this first book, I think you'll like this first book better than the this is the Island Escape. You'll like this first book better than the Rainforest Escape. Anyway, so like I said, it's single-sided. I love these page fold-outs. And I love the fact that these are perforated, and this is a thick paper. It is a cream paper, which if you guys are patrons over at Patreon, you probably saw last week I did a live chat and I complained at length about the cream colored paper in books. But suffice it to say here, I prefer white paper. I do prefer white paper. Mainly because I use colored pencils and watercolor paints and watercolor pencils, all three of which are transparent medium, and they just work. To me, I feel like the colors are much more vibrant with a white paper than with the cream paper. But the color for both of these two books that I will be reviewing today is cream paper. Let me compare it to you to some really white paper so you can see the difference. This is for a review I did last week for my updated review of the Prismacolors, which there'll be a link to that. But you can see the difference between this cream paper and a white paper, and I feel personally that I do get better results with white paper, but that's me. Anyway, the art itself is really nice and very highly detailed, which again, you'll have to decide for yourself if it's too much detail. For me, it does feel like a lot of detail, especially for using watercolors, but you might not think so. And you don't actually have to color everything. You can just do it all in one color if you so choose. I'm sure the reading in front would explain this. I did this with, I think this was done with a Derwent watercolor pencil, just to see how it goes. I accidentally tore that. So you have to be more careful than I am being in turning these pages when you turn them, because they are already perforated, so they will be more likely to come out. I am into fountain pens. I meant to do a video on really good fountain pens for people with small lady hands like me. but I have not gotten around to it, but I will do it at some point. Anyway, you can see that there's a lot of mansions, probably, you know, old plantation style houses, in this book with a lot of details. I did read this, and apparently they do some goat racing. I did read about this one because I was fascinated by this, and I did bother to read it. They do some goat racing where the person races alongside the goat. I guess this is, I don't know, this feels Russian inspired, or maybe Russia is just on my mind because, you know, there'll be our new overlords any day now. Okay, sorry. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. Anyway, so this got a lot of fun details here. There's a lot of sort of whimsical fun, with enough room for you to fill in the details, should you wish to fill in more detail. As I said, I enjoy these fold out pages a lot. And this tiny detail that I would not enjoy, but that my friend Amy would probably love. All of this tiny detail that's on here. And you saw that with the Derwent watercolor paper. And as far as I understand it, it's not, at least this book has a lot of the pages, but I feel like it's not, I could be wrong, but I don't think it's every single page that she tells you what it is in the back. I think it's just some pages. Let me double check. Yeah, it's not every single page. It's just some pages where she tells you about that particular artwork in the back. And this is the part that I found weird, is to me, this section should have been double-sided because you're not really going to be coloring in on this. But that's me being super nitpicky, and I realize that a lot of people, you know, are like, why are you being so nitpicky? See, this is where I read about the goats. But I feel like this section probably should have been double-sided because to me, I would rather have gotten additional art. There's about the author, which, like a bad person, I never read. This, which is pretty but annoys me because I'm just kind of like, I would rather have another page of stuff to color. I know that makes me a bad person. Anyway, this is the second book. This is Rainforest Escape. And this one is the same sort of green paper here. Also with the a lot of details, also by Jade Gedeon. Which I think I'm pronouncing correctly. If I am not, somebody will correct me in the comments. I am sure you can put your imaginary ding for reading. And so this one features a lot of iguana and sort of like island creatures. Rainforest creatures, sorry. Yeah, this is Rainforest Escape, sorry. And this was done entirely with the Kuretake Gansai watercolor paints. Japanese watercolor paints, which is for a review that is coming up. But as you can see, this did really nicely, and there was almost no buckling. I was surprised because this is really thin paper, but I did like a huge wash. You can see that this was done in one huge wash, and there's almost no buckling of the paper. So this is really good quality paper. I don't know, when I do the other review, I will see if the paper is the same quality. This paper also has like a little bit of a grain to it, so you should have no problems with your colored pencils. As you saw, I did the Derwent on these and had no problems using the Derwent watercolor pencils with these. There's a lot of hummingbirds and birds of various kinds. This is a section with a lot of detail. I'm probably going to do it all in one color. And there's this, so there's a lot of hummingbirds too, hummingbirds, and various sorts of parrots. I was concerned about the excessive detail, but let me show you the page that I colored in. I ended up just doing, even though it does have a lot of detail, I ended up just doing the whole thing in one color, doing all the feathers in one color and in one fell wash. rather than doing it all individually. And so what I did here for these, I did it for some, but I got to go back and do the rest of them, is I painted everything as one color, and then I went over the details on top of it with a slightly darker color. And I did lift these very lightly. I didn't brush when I lifted them. I just put down the paper and lifted them very lightly. Anyway, so we have this another bird here. There's a lot of bird. Oh, I'm so sorry. I do have that chronic insomnia. See, this is the kind of minute detail that's going to drive me bonkers. I may tear this page out. This is also, the binding is really nice too on this, as you saw. This is also perforated. It's not micro perforated, but it is perforated. So that's good. Sea turtle. I will probably do this all in one color and then you know, layer in whatever other colors I want. I have not tried these with this Sennelier paint, but I feel like this might be this one too. I'm gonna probably cut out a bunch of pages and send them to my friend Amy, because there's too much detail and it would drive me bonkers. Anyway, so there's a lot of different kinds of fishes, which I know somebody's gonna be annoyed. Again, you can use fishes as a plural for many different kinds of fish. That is in fact correct. Someone's gonna get annoyed with me. If it's all the same species of fish, then it's plural for fish. But if it's a lot of different species of fish, you can use the term fishes. That is acceptable. And I know somebody's gonna comment at the bottom, but you can look it up. I'm not wrong. Anyway, sorry. That was another random tangent. I do apologize. Gratuitous tangent. In fact, if you watch some David Attenborough, he often talks about the fishes. Cause you know you know how David. See, this is. I'm just gonna let you see this. This is a lot of detail. And, you know, I'm going to say if you wanted to do this all individually, this would be too much for me. I'm sure some people would be beside themselves, but I would not. I would just have a weary sigh and move on and do another page, because that's me. But I'm showing this to you so you guys can see. Oh, and I showed you in the other book the comparison just to show you that this is not a white paper. It might look white because I got dark skin, but you can see that this is a white paper. But this is cream. This is like a light cream. It's not as yellow as some books that are super yellow paper, but this is still a light cream paper. But it is, you know, single-sided and perforated, which is phenomenal, and always what, you know, the ideal book is single-sided perforated and on paper that can handle watercolors, which this is. So this is great. So to me, it's just a matter of, do you like the art? Because the paper is phenomenal. The binding is great. So this is I'm very, you know, happy and excited with this book, and I will totally review the last one for you guys. This is another weird thing here. Once again, she doesn't do all the pages, but she does some of them, and this section is also single-sided, and this section, I would have made this section double-sided, because you're not going to be coloring this stuff in, but some people might want to, I don't know. But because of this, there is a section for you. There's not an official page for you to test your medium, but you do have a lot of choices of various pages. You could use the back of this. You could use that. There's, once again, this paper here that I guess is so that they can do the binding in this different color, but not necessarily official. And then, so there is that. So, Island Escape was the first one. This is the second one, and I will do a separate video with this third book. So thank you guys so much for watching and staying with me. If you like this video, don't forget to share and like the video. Also join me if you guys would, and also if you guys consider checking out the Patreon page, and you guys can join me over on Patreon as well. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.